Hi, I'm Christine Kopr with Sotheby's Realty in Vancouver, BC. We're going to take a look at September's numbers now that they're in. And boy, oh boy, there are some shifts coming. However, not every market segment is affected by today's market circumstances as you may think. So stick with me and you're going to learn a little bit more about some of the details out there, especially if you're thinking about West Side detached or even East Side condos. We're going to take a look at what do these numbers look like when we get a little bit more granular, and I'm going to take it even one step further, going from Metro Vancouver to West Side and East Side Vancouver, just to see how those markets are faring. Because again, while we had this global overall look, that's not how every single market is operating. Taking a look at Metro Vancouver, we have detached home sales year over year are up from last year. This time last year, things were not that great. Started to experience the shift in the feel of those consistent interest rate increases, bam, 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 into the fall. And the markets actually prices fell about 10% after all of that. And then we recovered a bit. So that's wonderful. Year over year, sales are up 8%. Month over month, sales are starting to trick down 3%. Is that just a seasonal shift, or are we starting to see the most recent round of interest rate increases and the fear of another one starting to impact the market again this fall? Inventory is sitting at 4,600 homes, but inventory is down 2.6% year over year. So that's really interesting. And you're sitting at 8 months of inventory. So when we think about 8 months of inventory, that's a buyer's market territory. However, the sales to actives ratio, I don't always bring it up. It's another way of measuring supply and demand in the marketplace, but it's a bit more granular. And just at about 11 to 12% is when you start to hit a buyer's market for the sales to actives ratio, and 22% and above is more indicative of a seller's market. And in between, of course, is your balanced market. So detached homes are just on the cusp of a buyer's market, while months of inventory might make you feel like the sky is falling. I like to get a little bit deeper and see, like, really, where are we on the scale of things if we're a little bit more granular. Townhomes sales are up year over year quite substantially at 30%, but month over month sales are also down double digits at 17%. Inventory is down 2.3% year over year. So that's holding. It's not like we've seen an explosion from last year. And months of inventory are sitting at 3.3 months of inventory. So actually, technically, in a bit of a seller's market, potentially heading in whatever direction. But if you look at the sales to actives, you're actually in a strong seller's market territory at 30%, 22 and above being seller's market. Condos for Metro Vancouver, we're sitting at sales that are 11% higher year over year, down 22% month over month. So you're starting to see that slow down in the market that's probably most sensitive to interest rates. Inventory is just about the same year over year, and months of inventory are sitting at 4.5%. So that is between our 4 and 6%. So we're sitting in a balanced market for months of inventory for condos for all of Metro Vancouver, and a sales ratio of 22%. So right on the cusp of that seller's market, potentially going down into staying there, or potentially moving down into more balanced market conditions. So your detached home in Metro Vancouver is 2 million. That's up 5.8% year over year, down 0.1% month over month. So this is the month where we've seen, from a global or macro, should I say, perspective, where prices have trickled down just a smidge. Townhomes sitting at just under 1.1, that's up 5.3% year over year and just down 0.5% month over month. Condos are sitting at 768,000, up 5.8% year over year and just down a smidge at 0.2%. But let's take a look at these in the respective markets. So this is Vancouver West detached homes, 56 sales, that's up 7.7% year over year, but down 21% month over month. So it's a significant double-digit drop. Inventory, however, is down 15.5% year over year. So that's good. Inventory is hanging out. Now, my months of inventory is at 11. That would tell you, based on the current demand, you've got 11 months of inventory, which should be putting like a strong buyer's market, downward pressure on prices. And your sales to actives ratio somewhat confirms the same. But the market prices month over month, so it'll be interesting to see what happens next when we look at prices, is quite interesting for West Side detached homes. Townhomes. Sales 36, that's up almost 39% year over year, down almost 10% month over month. Inventory is increased a little bit. So there's a bit more supply, again, coming off these very historic lows, yet sitting at 6.4 months of inventory. So that would be indicative of a buyer's market for months of inventory, but sitting at 16% for your sales to actives ratio. So more of a balanced market when we get more granular for those West Side townhomes. Condos, sales are up 3% year over year, but down almost 26% month over month. Inventories just increased slightly with 6.7 months of inventory. So we're sitting in buyer's market territory for your condos on the west side, but 15% sales to actives ratio. So more of a balanced market for the condos. But how do the prices do? Because currently detached homes should be sitting at a buyer's market and potentially down, and townhomes and condos should be balanced. Well, here's the part that's interesting. Your benchmark price for Vancouver West year over year is up 8%, and month over month is up by a smidge, just under 1%. So isn't that interesting? You would think that the homes with the higher price point would be more impacted by these recent interest rate increases. However, I would argue that most people that are purchasing detached homes on the west side are not doing them with 80% loan to value mortgages. So that's something to keep in mind for this market segment. It's not as interest rate sensitive. Townhomes for the west side sitting at 1.457, that's up 1% year over year, but now coming down 2.7% month over month. And your attached condos on the west side are just sitting at about 850, up almost 5% year over year, and up a little bit, 0.3% month over month. If you're looking for the west side, these are the kind of numbers you're going to be looking at. Vancouver East, a little bit of a different story. Sales about flat year over year, down 16% month over month. Inventory is down about 5%, and you're sitting at 7.4 months of inventory for your detached homes. So this is all detached homes on Vancouver East. So 7.4 months of inventory would be a buyer's market. From sales to listings ratio, however, we're still sitting at a balanced, just on a cusp of heading to a buyer's market. So 14% above the 12% cutoff, basically between the balanced and a buyer's market. Townhomes on Vancouver East Side, sales are down almost 22% year over year, and sales are down 35% month over month. Inventory has crept up just a little bit, 2.5% year over year, negligible. Months of inventory is sitting at 7.4, so indicative of a buyer's market if we hang out here for a while. And your sales to actives is suggesting a balance, getting closer to a buyer's market territory. We shall see. The real estate market has surprised us in the past. So sales for condos on Vancouver East Side, they're up almost 16% year over year, but down 24% month over month. So the demand is definitely coming off on this market segment. And I would argue that this is the market segment where people are a little bit more price sensitive and perhaps a little bit more dependent on mortgages and therefore more price sensitive. Inventory year over year is just down 1%. So again, negligible. And we're sitting at 4.1 months of inventory. So about a seller's going right on the cusp of a balanced market by months of inventory. And sitting though at a 25% sales to actives ratio. So while I'm suggesting we're moving towards a balanced market for months of inventory, your sales to actives is still suggesting it's a seller's market. How did prices do in Vancouver East? Well, your detached home sitting at about 1.9, up 9% year over year, and down just almost 1% month over month. Townhomes are sitting at 1.140, up 8% year over year, and up 0.4% month over month. And condos are sitting at about 720, up almost 6% year over year, and down 0.7%. So just down almost 1% month over month. So interesting because your condos are sitting at about 4 months of inventory on the cusp of sellers to a balanced market, but contracted a little bit in pricing. And then your houses and townhomes are sitting at about 7.4 months of inventory, would be more buyer's market, or balanced if you look at the sales to actives ratio, but you can see that the townhomes still have bucked the trend. So we'll keep an eye out on what this looks like next month when we have a couple more months of data into a more active fall, or what should be a more active fall.